Peace out there. You have now tuned in to the Big House Breakdown. The Big House Breakdown is brought to you by Soundtrack Your Brand. Soundtrack Your Brand and its contractual relationship with ASCAP and BMI allows us to play all music in their vast catalog, all rights reserved. This broadcast does not deserve strikes from social media platforms due to copyright violations and algorithms because we have permissions. The Big House Breakdown is also brought to you by 17 USC 106, videos used for educational purposes only. And now, the Big House Breakdown. Peace to everybody out there. Hail to the victors. Go blue. You have now reached the throne of Big Ten football, the home for all Michigan fans near and far. This is the Big House Breakdown. Now, what is the Big House Breakdown? The Big House Breakdown is a slang term or a nickname for Michigan Stadium. But on this show, it's the central focus of all things Michigan and college football. We intend to break it down and forever may it be broke and explained in a way that is sometimes highbrow and sometimes real street. You know what I mean? But join us on this ride as we compete because Michigan just won the Big Ten championship. And to celebrate, this is a review. That's exactly what this episode is. This is a review of the Big Ten championship game, Purdue versus Michigan at Indianapolis. And to do that, I got something special for y'all to kick this off. This is a picturesque moment to music of the highlights of the actual Big Ten championship game, courtesy of the Big House Breakdown. So without further ado, let's get to it. Throwing the Big Ten football, the Empire strikes back. Let's go get them. That's right. Who got it better than us? Nobody. Hail to the victors. We are Michigan football and proud of it. Back-to-back champs. Back again after beating University of Purdue. Michigan remains the throne of Big Ten football. Disagree? Jump in that comment section. Jump on the live stage. Here is the call letters for anybody that wants to get in live. Fan or foe, right or wrong, hero or troll, jump in. The water's fine. That's what this hour is for, is to review. We want enlightened college football fans. We want those who have something pertinent to add to the conversation. But if you want that smoke, you know what I mean? We got peace pipes too. So let's go. So we back-to-back Big Ten champions in the college football playoff. And that's what things stand right now. But before we go any further, right, we're going to see where everybody is at in standings. So here are the rankings, right? And the rankings are Georgia 1, and this was a little while ago. So this was actually before Ohio State played Michigan. Georgia 1, Michigan is number 2. TCU is number 3, and Ohio State is number 4. How they weasel they behinds into the college football playoffs with a record as weak as Michigan's, I will never know. They got to sell popcorn. They got to sell tickets in the NCAA, I guess, right? But of course, if the field of 12 college football playoffs were to start today, LSU would be in, Kansas State, I believe, Tulane, USC definitely, Bama. They wouldn't leave Bama out. That's too sexy for the college football committee to leave them out. Utah would definitely be in. They've been balling their tail off. I'm trying to look at the field. Oregon will probably make it in, etc., etc., etc. But we about to talk about the Big Ten chip title game. So then the Michigan beat Ohio State and won the East. And now we are Big Ten champs back to back. And like the video said, we told y'all we would be back. You know what I mean? So we're here and we're talking about the big game, and we're going over a review of it. So please like, share, subscribe, and put this out to everybody far and wide. Tell everybody this is the new home for Michigan football, the Big House Breakdown. That's how we get down. That's our one band, one sound. And we want everybody to say it loud and proud. The Big House Breakdown. Everything Michigan football, everything college football with the bird's eye focus on Michigan football. But back to the Big Ten title game review. As you saw in the pictures, a lot happened. A lot transpired. And in the first half of this game, Purdue gave Michigan a run for their money. Let's go to the box score, shall we? So I hope everybody can find that, the link. I'll put it up time to time. And actually, you know what I'll do? I'll make it a ticker. That's what I'll do. Okay. So let's hide this. Let's scroll it. Let's save it. And now it becomes a ticker. Hey, gotta like that. Gotta like that. So Michigan versus Purdue. Michigan prevails. Hail to the victors. Go blue. Here's some of the stats for the big time game players. And I didn't just include offensive players. I included all the players. And then we will have a little bit of a breakdown. So J.J. Mack from Michigan quarterback. 11 of 17, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 goofy interception. Didn't need to throw that ball. He could have just ran it and got the positive yards. Aiden O'Connell, which is interesting. I think Aiden O'Connell will be a decent, backup in the pros because he put together a performance. 32 of 47 on some rhythm passing. 32 of 47, 366 yards. 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So that's very Dan Marino like, Brett Favre like, where you play your tail off, but you don't win. So that's where Aiden O'Connell was active at. And then Donovan Edwards from Michigan put that game clock on his back, turned into an anaconda, and went 26 for 185 yards and 1 touchdown. Probably could have had 2, but that pass in the end zone was out of reach. And my man was ready to catch it with a broken hand. That's why I featured it in the Victor's video. Maccabee ran 17 attempts for 71 yards with a 25-yard long gain. And that's very uncharacteristic for a Michigan defense. But we didn't play slouches. We played a team that was ready to play. So they got theirs off just a little bit. That still keeps their team well below Michigan's running average, which is holding teams to 85 yards a game. Will Johnson, the freshman 5-star recruit, 2 tackles, 2 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. Wow. So that's his 3rd interception on the year. Since he got more time extended to him once Jamon Green got hurt in the Michigan State altercation in the tunnel. And then you got Charlie Jones, wide receiver from Purdue. 17 receptions, 162 yards, 32 yards was his longest reception. He did his thing. Not mad at Charlie Jones. Showed some weaknesses of the Michigan linebackers and secondary playing that zone. Something we're going to have to be aware of going into the TCU game in the playoffs. Michigan defense came alive, though, the front 7. And you could say the back 4, Will Johnson had 2 interceptions, plenty pass breakups, couple pass breakups by Jamon Green, couple pass breakups by DJ Turner, 4 sacks by the Michigan defense. Jalen Harrell came to play. Mozzie Smith was a pocket pusher, up to playing a 2 technique on a 1, and they had 7 tackles for a loss. That's that Michigan D right there, man. That's what they do. That's how they stay true blue. And if you liking what you hear, jump on in, make it crystal clear. The link is at the bottom. You guys can jump on in. And you know what? That's the wrong link. What in the blood fire is going on? Okay. So let's change that. Sorry, my peoples, if you're trying to get in, because that was the wrong link. I'm going to replace that momentarily. But I'll give you guys a chance to check out those stats while I replace this link. Tell us what you think. Anything pop out to you about those stats that are uncanny or something that you would like to see Michigan celebrate about Michigan or see Michigan improve, drop it in the chat and let's talk about it. If not, I'm going to continue because I invited everybody to the party. And if folks show up with their maize and blue on, we can blow the bullhorn. You know what I mean? Where's that bullhorn at? Where's that bullhorn at? That bullhorn is right. Cheer. That's right. In the Big House Breakdown, whenever you have a tremendous comment or something that is outstanding, we blow the horn for you to make sure that you get that love that you deserve from it. So yeah, we got that. We got the call letters in the bottom of the screen. So if you want to jump in, man, woman, boy, teen, male team, female team. I know there's football fans all over the place. Michigan has a tremendous fan base of millions of people all over the world. That's why they're able to go overseas and still play ball and still get the love. We got people checking for us in all places. So once again, those are the stats. JJ McCarthy was super effective And didn't have to run that much. He ran some. I wish he would stop trying to leap over people. And understand that he's, but that's the hockey guy in him. He wants to take those risks. He wants to, wear his heart on his sleeve and show his team that he could be a leader. So I'm not mad at it. I just want him to be, upright so he could throw them darts, that flamethrower, man. JJ Mack was a flame thrower during the championship game. You know what I'm saying? Hail to the victors, back to back champs. So now we're going to get into the aftermath, man. The aftermath. Now, what is the aftermath? The aftermath basically is what were the outcomes of some of the things that happened during the game. So JJ Mack was a flamethrower and didn't have to throw for that many yards to sizzle that Purdue defense. The pass over the middle to Ronnie Bell in the end zone, in the middle of the end zone, almost toward the back of the end zone, really pretty. The pass to Colston Loveland looked like a flag route almost. Really pretty pass. He put some heat on that joker. And the pass of the day was rolling out to your left. This is like John Elway stuff here. This is Michael Vick stuff here. Rolling out to your left, J.J. McCarthy jumps in the air and finds Ronnie Bell in the middle of the field for a huge first down, plus some more, going crazy in the first half, throwing the ball. And just when you thought, now it was tight in the first half, it was 14-13 halftime. And just when Purdue thought it was going to be the JJ Mack show, the MVP took over. And no, I'm not talking about Blake Corum, who was a first-team All-American running back, by the way. I'm talking about the Donovan Edwards. Ran big with one hand, broken bone in his strongest hand on his body. His strong hand, right? Still gathered up, mustered up all the courage, mustered up all the smoke for Purdue. And Purdue was supposed to be the Boilermakers, them locomotives, right? They supposed to have the smoke. They had no smoke for the Don. The Don ran through them all, especially highlighted by that, I don't know if it was about 20 or 30-yard run up the gut. Looked like a pin and pull or a slide and scoop to the second level. That thing opened up. Olu Matimi was blocking his tail off. That dude is going first round of pros. And Don came through with a head of steam and ran through about 4 Purdue defenders and into the end zone for one of the best runs of the college football season, especially in a championship situation. Now, I also thought it was a great scheme by the offensive coordinators of Michigan, Weiss and Moore, that they got the wide receivers involved. Play action worked well. They got Colston Loveland involved. He's like our freshman Gronkowski of sorts. And then we got our wide receivers involved. Ronnie Bell got involved. The hero of the Ohio State game, which was C.J. Cornelius Johnson, involved. JJ was threading the needle and flame throwing all over the first half and second half for that matter, throwing some really timely throws off of play action. And I think Michigan held on to play action during the season for this very reason. And I think it's really interesting because now that they're in the playoffs and they're playing championship football, you got the play action that is scaring the bejesus out of defenses, because now they thought they had to load the box to stop Michigan in their run game, put 8-9 in the box, and we'll do that and you go cover 0. We burn you with that heat throw, that flamethrower, flame on, the human torch, Johnny Mack, you know what I mean? He did his thing, torching Purdue, and only had to make 3 big throws, because those 3 big throws were the only throws that he needed. I thought he could have used his legs in a more effective way. I thought he could have picked some rush lanes to do some things, but he made use of his wide receivers, which was the thing that Michigan was kind of lacking during the second half of the season, and he made good use of them. the bend and anti-break Michigan defense. So we saw by halftime how it was 14-3, and then the Michigan defense was a little vanilla in the first half. Second half, you bring out people like McGregor, you bring out people like Yabioki, you bring out people like Moore, and you get the depth of Michigan. Even young ones, even young players, even a young Jedi come off the bench for Michigan, contributing greatly. Yabioki is like a freshman on the Michigan squad because he just came in as a transfer and jumped into the playbook, and in no time was contributing. One of the highlights of the game was Purdue's bad red zone defense, or should I say, Michigan's great red zone defense. And you can go back to a lot of teams and find that once they get in a 30 or less, it's very hard for them to move the ball against these Wolverines. That's just what it is. They lost the battle of the line of scrimmage. If you watch that, the late second quarter, early second half, third and fourth quarter, you saw Zach Zinser, Oluwatimi, Trevor Keegan, Trente Jones. You saw them big bubbas up front get busy. You saw the pin and pulls. You saw the scooping. You saw the sliding scoops getting to the second level. You saw all that great offensive line play. You saw the zone runs. You saw the counters. You saw the powers. You saw all that stuff that Michigan likes to disguise in multiple formations for the run. You saw it all come alive at the end of the first half and the third and the fourth quarter, turning the game clock into a boa constrictor, anaconda of sorts, and strangling this rhythm offense of Purdue so that they could not and would not be as efficient as they would like to be. And Michigan's depth, I think Michigan is probably, from a talent standpoint, from a efficient, making the most use of their players, whether they be freshmen, whether they be true freshmen, sophomores, it doesn't matter. There is no young players on the Michigan defense because they coach really well. And they go into the game ready to make plays. I'm talking McGregor. I'm talking Moore. I'm talking Yabioki. I'm talking Garrett Moore. I'm talking about Mason Garrett. I'm talking about, oh my gosh, so many dudes. Upshaw and Chris Jenkins, them big boys, them big bubbas up the middle, playing the 1, the 2, and the 3 techs. Man, they bring out that nickel rock defense that they like to run with Mike Sanders still. And Mike Sanders still, that's another example of depth. He came over from being a scrappy wide receiver to playing nickel back for the Michigan Wolverines. And we have been a really lockdown defense pass-wise. Has teams got stuff in between the 20s? Absolutely. You're not going to be in college football in this day and age and not get things in between the 20s, not get yards in between the 20s, stretching the field, stretching the 50-yard sideline to sideline number to the numbers. If you got receivers numbers to the numbers, nobody's going to defend 50 yards of field all day long. But the key ingredient is, can you lock down in the red zone? And of course, Michigan has been able to do such. So that's the aftermath, man. That's what came about after, all of the hype, all of the hoopla, all of the smoke about Purdue's potential. Now, Purdue wasn't no slouches. They was hitting them zones. They were winning the man-to-man matchups in between the 20s. But once they got 30 yards or less and that field shrunk, when that field starts to shrink and them zones start to look like Tasmanian devils running all over the field, them zone droppers, them hook the curls, them safeties disguising themselves, start looking like Taz's running all over the field, causing havoc, things get real interesting. And of course, they chose to pick on the young Jedi, which was Will Johnson, and he burned them for 2 interceptions deep. Yeah, man. So if you joined us, man, you are rocking with the Big House Breakdown college football show with a bird's eye view of and focus on the Michigan Wolverines. We take Michigan fans near and far, blind, crippling, crazy, dumb, deaf, and blind. We don't mind. Bring them in here. We got something for y'all. We want to talk that Michigan-ish. And if you're just a college football fan in general, please leave it in the comments. Please leave it anything you want to talk about in terms of college football, because Michigan is right there. We number 2 in the nation. That sensation. Can you feel it? That funky sensation. That is those Michigan Wolverines. Jump into the conversation. Let's make it hot. Let's make this whole thing pop. We are the Big House Breakdown. That's how we get down. One band, one sound. Let them know. Share this. Jump in. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you're a teen girl, teen boy, you got something to say about Michigan football, college football in general. You got something to say about the field of 12 coming up in the next couple of years. That's going to be super hot. I can remember being a young college football player myself, hoping that we would get a field of 12 and it would expand the opportunities for play in college football. But we're going to jump into our next segment. Our next segment is, no, we don't want to go to burning questions yet. We're going to go to, we want to give them big bubbas. Them big bubbas. That's right. Them big bubbas, the offense and the defensive line. Because I believe, and we want to give them a big thanks, man. All season long, especially in this game, they rose to the occasion. And they were the sensation that we needed them to be. So I'm talking about Olu Oluwatimi. I'm talking about Zach Zinter. I'm talking about Trevor Keegan. I'm talking about Trente Jones. I'm talking about all the tight ends that play so many vital roles for the Michigan. They play fullback. They play H-back. They play receiver. They do so many multiple things. And also a big up to, and let me continue. So that's the O-line and the tight ends because they're an extension of the O-line. And then you also have that D-line starting with that beast, Mozzie Smith, over the middle, half man, half a crazy. That dude is a problem. He just takes 3 scoops of offensive linemen, and you can't do nothing with him. And when he needs to rush the passer, he can get enough head of steam up the pot and push the pocket and rush the passer. Now we're talking about Mason Garrett, the young freshman. Wow, came in almost 300 pounds, exerting himself all season long. Mike Morris. I think Mike Morris might have put out about 4 open quarterbacks in Michigan season. I know he put out the Indiana quarterback. I know he put out Livingston from Penn State. I know he put out Talia Tungavaloa. I know he put out a lot of people, so we want him to heal up, whether it's the hamstring or the high ankle sprain, or maybe a combination of the both. We need you to heal up, my G, and get back. His big number 90 remind me of Strahan when he was playing for Texas, one of the Texas schools in college. His frame was stupid. His speed and athleticism was top notch. And we need big Mikey Morris to get back and contribute to his defense. And then we had Chris Jenkins. That's another one. That's another Mozzie Smith, almost 300 pounds type of dude. I think he's like 285. And, he can either play the 3 technique or he could play, a stand-up, walk-up in. Same thing with Upshaw. Upshaw was one of the heroes of the Ohio State game. They dropped him in the coverage, and he picked off C.J. Stroud. And then you had Yabioki, which is added with his speed and athleticism and pass rush moves. He has added many sacks to the Wolverine defense that has had more sacks than the team last year at a faster pace. That means by the time they got to 10 games, they were way over the sack total of last year's team that had 2 first-round defensive ends come off the Michigan squad. Then you got somebody that I want to highlight because earlier in the year, I didn't know about this cat. But it seems like there has been a maturity, or maybe the competitiveness in this particular cat on the Wolverines made him improve his game greatly. And that's Jalen Harrell. Harrell has made a bunch of plays in the Ohio State game in pass coverage against Stover, which is a very, very great sign. If we got to go out and play Georgia and take on that big, crazy tight end they got there, Brock Bowers, right? And he's made some plays, man. And this is an athletic cat. And he had 2 sacks during the Purdue Michigan title game. And then you got Derek Moore. Derek Moore contributed. I believe he had a sack as well. Him and Mozzie Smith contributed to an over the middle smash type of sack, high low deal. I'm surprised that Aiden O'Connell, was able to get up and continue playing. And then you got McGregor, who's the young one who stepped in and uses his length and his size. He got like a Jason Taylor type of frame. If anybody remember Jason Taylor from the Miami Dolphins, got a Jason Taylor type of frame, real long arms, backs down passes, sacks quarterbacks, can drop in coverage. He's another one that can help in a Brock Bowers matchup in Georgia. So shout out to them big bubbas, man. I call them the big bubbas, them BBs, you know what I'm saying, for the Michigan Wolverines. They did their thing during the Big Ten chip title game. Shout out to everybody that's contributing to the Michigan Wolverine fan base on the Big House Breakdown, because there's a lot of groups that I'm part of on Facebook and other places that is contributing mightily to it. So we got Michigan Wolverine fans. That's one group I want to shout out. I also want to shout out, let me keep scrolling so I make sure I get these names right, because there's a lot of them. The Michigan Wolverine football fans, that's another one. There's plenty more. There's about 4 or 5 more. Michigan Wolverine Nation, plenty more. Michigan Wolverine football, man, there's so many that I'm a part of who are involved with the Big House Breakdown and Michigan Wolverine football. You know what I mean? At the Big House Break, everything Michigan football related and college football related. We talk all that, man. So y'all join us, man. Y'all jump in. The water's fine. You know what I mean? We right on time. You know what I mean? Jump in. Let us know what you think about the Big House Breakdown. And we got some burning questions. We collected these questions from our comments over the last couple of shows of the Big House Breakdown. We did a review. We did a Big House Breakdown review of the game. And these are some of the questions, and I will attempt to answer. So the first one that I thought was one of the better questions was, will the layoff kill Michigan momentum in the playoffs? I don't think a layoff will kill the Michigan momentum. I think Jim Harbaugh, his resume as a coach, he's a very planned guy. He loves to go in with his teams very well coached, very well trained, ready to execute, ready to play above their station. I think if any coach that could take a bunch of 3 stars, make them play like 4 stars over a break, it will be Jim Harbaugh. And I also think that the layoff for after the championship weekend will help Michigan to heal up some of their players, like Mike Morris. Unfortunately, Corum, we thought that of Blake Corum as well, but Blake Corum had to have surgery. And I think that was like, best case precaution for Blake Corum. Of course, we want our All-American running back. My man is All-American. Give it up for Blake Corum. Yeah, that's the man right there. So we wish him a speedy recovery, and we want him to do everything he wants to do. If he's going to come back, let him come back and rip it up. If not, if he wants to go to the pros, his catching and running ability, his ability to juke you out your socks is going to make some team very happy at the pro level. The second question that I thought was super important. Can JJ's improv skills beat bigger teams? Yeah, so JJ is a super improv dude at the quarterback position. I might go so far to say that he might be the best one playing of the teams that are remaining. So let's think about that right now. Let's think about CJ Stroud. He's a much better improvisational quarterback than CJ Stroud. The TCU quarterback, him and the TCU quarterback might be neck and neck with it, because the TCU quarterback can do some things to pull out game as well. I think JJ is a little heads and tails better. I think his arm is just a little more. I think he flame throws, and his arm is just a little bit better than most. Yeah, so I think his improv skills might, beat bigger teams. I'd like to see him utilize some rush lanes instead of just rolling out the throw down field. And I understand he wants to get his receivers involved. I get it. He wants to get his tight ends involved, the backs, and not just always run around and be the wild cowboy. But as the bigger teams approach, like TCU and Georgia, and Ohio State, if we have to play them again, that would be so great. So we could put the smash on them dudes in a real game, in a championship game. Anyway, I don't want to digress, because that's kind of the next thing coming up. But yeah, I think JJ's improv skills will beat bigger teams. Absolutely. I think he has the ability to do that. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think he's that kind of wild cowboy out of Illinois. Ooh, you like that, right? Like that rhyme scheme. He's the wild cowboy out of Illinois, and he's 100% Michigan focused. You know what I mean? He's not going to do McNamara, and he's not going to do and jump in the transfer portal, whining and crying. Because honestly, JJ could have played a lot more last season, but he was riding Cade McNamara. I'm talking about Harbaugh. Next question that I thought was out of the ones that I got, I thought was really, really important. Will Michigan play Ohio State in the national championship? There's a possibility. I mean, look, they'd have to put a hell of a game together to beat Georgia. I mean, Georgia is built like us. That old line play, that D-line play is not messing around with nobody. And I just don't think, I think Ohio State interior defensive line won't be able to play with Georgia's against Georgia's big bubbas. I just don't think. I think Georgia's big bubbas might be a little too much for them. And I think that we'll see a Michigan Georgia national championship in January. Will JJ's legs make the chip run special? Yeah, I think that kind of goes to the second question, but I think he needs to be a lot more judicious about how he does it, a lot more measured, take his time and pick his spots to do it. And I like his ability to create chaos with his legs, and that's going to be in the breakdown, really. Well, I said it in the breakdown from last episode. JJ rolling out. It seems like JJ rolls out every time there's pressure in the pocket. And he's going to have to calm down and rely on his offensive lineman to make a pocket for him, step up into the ugly, that's a football term we say as coaches, step into the ugly, right? Step into it and let that ball go. And that's what he did when he hit Ronnie Bell in the end zone for that pretty score. Oh, man, that was so pretty. And Ronnie Bell was consistent enough to catch that ball. I think the spotlight was on him, and he had to make that play. I would love to see JJ get Andrew Anthony involved, and Andrew Anthony can do something run after the catch, because I think he's kind of the X factor in our wide receiver room. If we can get somebody like Andrew Anthony involved via JJ's flame throwing, I think that would be good. Yeah, so JJ can utilize rush lanes, and he can utilize rolling out and throwing on a run like he did. I think that is kind of how you got to beat a Georgia. It might be a stalemate with our big bubbas versus their big bubbas. So then the skill position people make the difference. When there's a stalemate with offensive line and defensive line, theirs is just as good as ours, which was what I believe. They have a couple more 5 stars on their offensive defensive line, but we play like 5 stars on our offensive defensive line. Then it comes down to skill position. And I think JJ is the X factor with his legs. Stetson Bennett can do the same thing, but not to the speed and effectiveness of JJ. I would love to see some option, right? Some spread option out of JJ, out of duo, out of some sort of spread, some sort of 12, 13 personnel. I would love to see JJ run some spread option, even out of a 3-and-1 look or a 2-and-2 look. I would love to see that because our receivers block their behinds off, and I think JJ's speed would be a real value in that regard. Okay, so the next one: will the O-line and D-line dominate the playoff? I think they're gonna impose their will in the TCU game. I think TCU is nobody to scoff at. Their receiver Quentin Johnston is dope. That dude reminds me of like an old school T.O. or old school what's the other cat's name? Randy Moss. Poor man's Randy Moss, poor man's T.O. But he's a very physical receiver, tall receiver. I think Will Johnson might get the assignment with him, and we would have to our D-line would have to maintain their run fits and dominate in the playoffs. They absolutely can. They've done it against big competition, so I don't see why they can't do it now. I think Michigan's offensive defensive lines are a cut above TCU's. I think we are a stalemate with Georgia. I think Georgia is probably just as good offensive and defensively on their line, the big bubbas. So I think it will come down to skill players. But yeah, do I think that they can be a force to be reckoned with in the college football playoffs against a team like TCU? Absolutely. Look to JJ throwing in the first half off play action, and then and maybe a couple of spread formations, kind of a throw to run situation. And then in the second half, look for, Super 7 to put that time clock on his back with the running game and turn it to Anaconda 7 and strangle TCU with that run game. And, he's the type of home run hitter with that run game. So once, Olu Oluwatimi and Zach Zinter and Trente Jones start understanding what the TCU front wants to do, man, that duo and that 13 personnel, and they're gonna come to play. So I think there's a great chance that can happen, and of course they're gonna throw 30 personnel. And the last one of the burning question is: Michigan ready for big time playoff football? Hell yeah, they got the quarterback to do it. They got the big strike running back to do it. The receivers on Michigan will be a complement to the backfield and the offensive line. The offensive line, Michigan is the best second half adjustment team in the nation. And I think their offensive line, the game, when we get to the game within the game, I'm going to talk a little bit about the offensive line and the schemes, because I think we got something that's popping right now that's really not being talked about a lot about Michigan's offensive line. And I think that's the in-game adjustments that they make. I think Olu Oluwatimi, Zach Zinter, Trente Jones, I think their experience allows for them to be very, very heady in game and allow them to make adjustments like they did the second half of the Ohio State game and like they did the second half of the Purdue game, which allowed Super 7 Donovan Edwards to run for as many yards as he did during that second half thing. So now, once again, we want to recap what we did, man. This is the Big House Breakdown championship game review for the Big Ten. Michigan won back-to-back championships for the Big Ten. This is what we always did. We also calculated what's popping in the rankings. Georgia 1, Michigan is 2, TCU is 3, Ohio State is 4. Those rankings that you see right now were put together before the Michigan-Ohio State game. Would love to see the field of 12. Then we had the aftermath. JJ being the difference in the first half, Donovan Edwards being and the defense being the difference in the second half. The burning questions. The best of the burning questions was, would JJ's legs make the championship run special? And I believe that's the key. I believe JJ McCarthy's legs are the key to our championship run, at least offensively, because it makes us 2 and 3 dimensional. Because not only can he throw it, not only can he flame throw, but he can run and flame throw, and that's incredibly hard to beat, especially when you got it down to a science. And then those big bubbas, man. I think those big bubbas on the offense and defensive line are going to make a difference in our championship run. So we are here, and it's time for the game inside the game. And I gave you a little bit of a hint what I think is going on with the Michigan O-line and D-line. I think they play a little vanilla scheme-wise in the first half because they know they're going to be better than most of the competition that they face. And I think in the second half, they go back. I think they have very great in-game scouts to help out Mike Minter and help out Weiss and Moore offensively. And they come back. And I also think that the line with Oluwatimi, Zach Zinter, Trevor Keegan, Trente Jones, and the 13 personnel tight ends that come out, I think they work well with what they see. I think they play with their eyes. I think they communicate well. And I think they make great on-the-field adjustments to what they see. Because the coaches can't give it all to you. Sometimes you got to make adjustments when you're in the field, like they did against Ohio State and like they did against Purdue, that allowed Donovan Edwards to run up the middle and score that super hard touchdown where he broke like 4 tackles and used his speed and toughness with his 210-pound frame and did his thing. So that's one of the games within the game, man. This is our segment, the game within the game. Let me put that up. Because this is the game within the game moment. I'm going to put that up on the screen. Yeah, so this is the game within the game. This is my take on what's going on with my, oh, wow, how many years of coaching do I have? At least 20 years of coaching, because right out of college, I started coaching in the Bronx and in Maryland, and then I came back up to Rochester and been coaching my sons. They're all 20-year-olds now. So in my years of coaching and my assessment of football, this is where I see the game within a game. Now, you can listen to ESPN. You can listen to all the podcasts and YouTube shows that you would like about Michigan. Not going to find the breakdown that I deliver anywhere else. So Michigan fans, come on through. This is for you and college football fans, because we are talking about the game within a game. Now, we talk about the University of Michigan and that anaconda that they turn into in most second halves with their run game, and they strangle the opposing defense with the clock and the opposing offense, because they keep the opposing offense off the field with 13 personnel. And then they also they play that bang ball, that bully ball that I love. I love that bang ball, bully ball. But they do it from a lot of different formations. And here's my take. And don't bite me, all you guys that are all over the country with these Michigan or sports podcasts, college football podcasts. If you're fair, contact me. Let's talk about it. I'll bring you up on the show. We could do teams. We could team it up. I'll be on your show. You can be on my show. We could share audiences, and we could chop it up in college football. But here's one of my game within the game concepts. Okay, so Michigan loves the ground and pound. They love to turn into Tasmanian devils in the second half and do their thing from a multiple run game standpoint. Now, what a lot of people don't get is that they think this is the antithesis of what's happening right now in most college football teams. They want to run spread. They want the 50 yards to be covered so that defenses are out of, in bad run fits. And that way they can get these talented running backs in space, whether it be between the tackles or it be in the flats. Michigan does this a little bit. Think of that same concept, but apply it to a running game. This is what Michigan does with 13 personnel, even with wide receivers. I'll have you guys go back to the Rutgers game where Ronnie Bell, it was 12 personnel plus Ronnie Bell. And they love to run counter out of that motion in 13 personnel. But what they did is they brought Ronnie Bell across the front in motion. He faked like he was blocking on that counter, blocking down, and he ran and kind of like an out and up concept and scored in a flag route in the end zone, in the red zone. So that was really, that play started Michigan cleaning up his red zone issues, because Michigan was having red zone issues for a couple of games before that. But think about that concept that I just told y'all about. Michigan applies a multiple run game style, bringing in multiple formations with multiple personnel, the same way a spread passing offense would apply 2-on-2, 3-on-1, 3-on-2s, and try to get matchup problems against defenses. I think that's genius. And I think you're going to see a lot more teams do this if they have the personnel to run the ball and they got those heavy tight ends. I think you'll see a lot more people and a lot more teams employ this same thing because it allows you to be creative in the run game. And if you have a talented enough passer, you can run option out of it, you can run power out of it, and you can run play action out of it, torch defenses, because they have to account for 13 personnel, which is interesting. So you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. The multiple run game is just like the spread passing game, but instead you just do it with 13 personnel. And it's kind of genius. I don't know if Harbaugh and his brother came up with that concept or what that was, but it's very well devised. And if you have talented backs like Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, that whole thing can work wonders. I would love to see Andrew Anthony with his speed, because he provides a little more speed than Ronnie Bell. I would love to see him in duo come across the formation, sit, fake a counter block, and then go deep and burn the safety deep in a championship game or in a playoff game, because Andrew Anthony hasn't really gotten involved that much, and I don't think he would be scouted to that degree. He'd be a what do you call that? He would be a kind of, matchup problem of sorts. Right? Then I see Michigan during the playoff against TCU. I'm going to give you a little clue. I could see them rolling, playing a lot of quarters, playing a lot of rolling cloud, maybe a lot of rolling cloud 3, rolling cloud 2, to take away Quentin Johnston and confuse TCU, at least the quarterback, and now what that quarterback likes to do when he gets confused is he like to take off running. And you got your Yabiokis and your Mike Morrises and your Upshaws and your Jalen Harrells, your Moores and your Harrells, And they got to get on a bike. They got to get on a horse and track that down. Michigan in the red zone likes to turn teams into, especially RPO teams like TCU, into third and bad. They love to, if Michigan will get you third and bad, you in trouble. Because now we can run all the stunts with Chris Jenkins and Mozzie Smith. And by the way, they terrorized Ohio State with that. Go back and look at the film on that. They terrorized just the two of them, man. And those are two of our biggest linemen. But they ran some stunts that had Ohio State on their backside. Once you can intimidate an offensive line up front and you can push the pocket, that's going to get the TCU quarterback on his bike. That's going to get him rolling out. And then, of course, you got the Abiokis and the Moores and the Harrells and the McGregors waiting for you in the wings to take that ass down. Yeah, man. So I'm not sure if TCU is going to see, like I just mentioned, tackles, defensive tackles like Mozzie Smith and Chris Jenkins, and Mason Garrett that can push the pocket. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then, of course, I gave up another one. Michigan is going to have to disguise their zones just a bit because the linebackers from Michigan are not the greatest. At least Junior Colson can be a little suspect over the middle. He has his times when he's really good. He's a Ray Lewis type that can run 50 to 50 sideline to sideline. Very good athletic middle linebacker. I wish he would bring his feet when he hits a little bit more. But we're going to have to disguise our zone coverages and confuse this TCU quarterback who's a heady dude who likes to throw deep. I think Michigan is going to want to take that away with Moore and Makari Page as our safeties. And then, of course, Mike Sanders still, if they could devise something where he drops as a third safety and we can get some cover 6 happening where we could take away Quentin Johnston, their wideout, I think we'll be doing great. And I know Michigan loves to rely on coverage sacks because we got ballers in Jamon Green, DJ Turner, and Mike Sanistel and Will Johnson playing them corners. I don't know if y'all really appreciate it as Michigan fans how much of a luxury we have with 4 starting corners on your ball team. You know what I mean? And your nickel corner can come up and hit like a linebacker. I mean, I don't know how, we gotta appreciate that, man. We gotta appreciate it. And it's a real big reason that we are hail to the victors and back-to-back Big Ten champs. Unselfish play. And then, of course, how Michigan schemes their D-line in the second half of games is very, very pivotal. Mike Minter, I think Mike Minter holds back a couple of things in the first half. And I even think he puts the defensive ends on a pitch count. The D-line, for that matter, on a pitch count. And I don't think certain DNs see the field to the second half of the game. So they super fresh, legs fresh, chomping at the bit to go in there and do something great. And I think that is a scheme that's very pro-like, you know what I mean? Very NFL-esque of Mike Minter. He's a DB coach by speciality. So you're going to see a lot of coverages. I hope we can disguise some. I love what he does with Junior Colson up the middle. I think if you bring Junior Colson off the outside and drop Mike Barrett over the middle, and Mike Barrett has a little bit of better time opening his hips and playing that hook to curl a little bit better than Colson. And I think Colson has a little bit better straight line speed, and he might be able to add more to the pass rush in the first 7. Turn that standing 5 into a standing 6 and do your Bill Belichick type of thing and come off the edge, creating numbers mismatches on, at the boundaries. And I just love Michigan's D-line depth. And I just love Michigan's overall depth as a team. I don't know if TCU has that depth as a team. I don't think so. And just to prove it, we have Khalil Mullins, who was a backup linebacker, who's 230 pounds. He wearing number 20 now, and he's our short yardage and goal line back. Scored 2 touchdowns in the championship game. We didn't talk about it. I know I put up the chart showing everybody that contributed to the game. Colston Loveland had a touchdown, and Khalil Mullen 2 goal line joints. That's very, very important. And short yardage gains throughout the game. That's hard to tackle 230 with a head of steam out of that shotgun or out of that gun formation, and out of the pistol formation with a downhill head of steam, with a pin and pull from Olu Atimi and Zach Zinter. That's a lot to deal with. Not too many teams could see that. And Big 10 football, I don't know if Big 12 football and TCU is ready for what cold weather Michigan football is going to do with that bang ball. We got that bang ball for y'all, man. We got that bang ball for y'all. We got 230 coming downhill. That's, Derrick Henry stuff. You know what I mean? So, did I go over all of my game within a game points? And yeah, man, the best defense is the best running game, right? That's the best defense is a running game. Running game and defense travels. So if you can keep the opposite RPO style offense, TCU, off the field, I think you got to run strangling that clock with a running game, with a home run hitter like Donovan Edwards, and a bang ball dude like Khalil and JJ rolling out. That's 3 different threats from a run position that you got to deal with, 3 different styles. And by the middle of the 4th quarter, you gassed. You banged around. Them hands is getting caught in between face masks, getting smacked around by shoulder pads. You tired of seeing Olu Atimi sweating all over you. You know what I'm saying? You tired of Zach Zinter punching you and down in the pile. You know what I'm saying? And digging in. You know how the big bubbas do. You know how them big bubbas do. You know what I'm saying? You tired of seeing all of that. You tired of feeling all of that. And TCU lets teams hang around a bit too much for my liking. They remind me of Ohio State in a lot of those ways. They remind me of Indiana and Maryland in a lot of those ways. And those are quality programs. They had decent records this year. I think TCU playing Kansas State, a team familiar with, that they should have put away because they know what they present. They know what they have to offer. They let them hang around. And if you let Michigan hang around, all we're going to do is run that ball down your throat. All we're going to do is get 13 personnel on the field. We're going to run that. We're going to run that duo. We're going to run that counter. We're going to run that zone. We're going to run that pin and pull. And I think we got other things. We're going to run that play action. JJ going to run. You know what I mean? Don going to hit you for strikes up the field, 40, 60 yards a pop. And then Khalil Mullins going to play bully ball with you. Because he thought his running back career was over. But alas, oh, great one. No, it is not. Because you're dealing with the throne of the Big 10, most wins of all time, Michigan football as you see it. You know what I mean? We back-to-back Big 10 championships. And that has been the game within the game. Oh, and one more thing. All the rollouts by JJ, whether they're designed, the quarterback powers, the rollouts, the waggles, whatever they design, they make it look like the same multiple run formations that they use for their regular running game, which is interesting. So you don't ever know if JJ's running out to avoid pressure, if this is a design run, if he's running option, or if they're running the ball. That makes that entirely difficult to play, especially when you got a home run hitter, track athlete like Donovan Edwards, who could catch the ball out of the backfield. And that's a feature that I think we're going to see in the college football playoff. I think we're going to see Donovan Edwards catch the ball some. So Michigan has a lot to offer, man. We have a lot of intangibles. There's many personnel doing many big things within the scheme of this playoff championship run. We are the Big House Breakdown, everything college football, with a bird's eye focus on the Michigan Wolverines. If you want to like, share, subscribe, rewatch the breakdown, tell us what you think, and timestamp it in the comments so we can get back to some more burning questions, because I'm going to put them all up. The best burning questions get put on the show. I'm going to have I'm on YouTube, so I'm going to have my super chat available in a moment. But I want your burning questions. I want you to get involved with the Big House Breakdown. As you see it up above, it is everything college football, everything Michigan football centric. And we will see you as we march along this championship road to the playoffs. Oh, one last thing, game within a game. We need to get AJ Henning involved in the special teams. Some sort of reverse, some sort of kickoff return pass with him and Ronnie Bell. I'd like to see them get a little bit, unique with that. Show some special teams uniqueness in that area and scheme up something to execute during one of these things. I think TCU would be a great team to try that on. When we need one, we get one, and then we just continue to march on them. This is the Big House Breakdown, man. And as always, to sign off most of the programs on the Real HD Network, we're going to leave you with peace and walk with power. Back to the intro.